Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Herren, and welcome to the 15-minute pop-up show. I do hope you enjoy this momentary distraction of simple amusements and magic on this Saturday night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Before we begin, though, I have a couple of announcements to make, and I hope you don't mind. And just in case you're wondering where I'll be at the end of the month, I do have a couple of shows. So if I may, I would like to show you. On October 25th, I have a show with it's a three-man act, and it's called An Evening of Magic. In fact, here is the ad. This is An Evening of Magic, and you could find us on Facebook and Eventbrite, and it's going to be with Michael Tricks, rock and roll magician, and Sir Patrick, the magical entertainer, and that is on October 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern and also 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a ticketed event, so check us out on Eventbrite. And the second show, and you don't want to miss this one's on Halloween night, and it is prepared by Raven and Miggs of the Magic Castle in Hollywood, California. And this is going to be a unique magic show because they've embraced the virtual platform like I've never seen. In fact, I'll show you a video. This is October 31st on Halloween night, and it is a free Halloween magic show by Raven and Miggs. Enjoy.
Hello, folks. Raven and Miggs are back.
Yes, and this time we're hosting a Halloween Magic Zoom 1-hour special this October 31st, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, featuring some of the coolest magicians.
Yes, we have Herren, we have Rich Hurley, and Rick Gerber, all magicians from the Magic Castle.
It's going to be a real fun time, and we don't want you to miss it. We encourage you all to wear costumes. It's not required, but it would make a cool gallery pick. So once again, this October 31st, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Don't miss out. That room's going to fill up quick. We hope to see you there. We're going to drop a link below. We'll see you guys real soon.
Hope to see you there.
Guys, that was Raven and Miggs, October 31st, and that is a Halloween magic show that you can't miss. Now, I would like to do something to open for our featured guest for tonight, but before we get to the featured guest, I'd like to share a curio, and some of you may be wondering what a curio is, and a curio is defined as this. Take a look here. So rather than do a show and tell with you, I'm going to do it in the form of magic. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my curio. Maestro, please. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. And now I think, now that we have all our drinks in order, I think we are ready to begin with our featured act. Now, this featured act is a professional weirdo, a magician and mentalist from Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's my friend, and I'm happy to have him here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, Jordan Jonas. Jordan, welcome to the show, my friend. It's always
Thank you.
to meet you.
Thank you for having me, Chris. And also, good evening, boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, creatures of all varieties out there that are watching. It is officially spooky season. It's my time, you know. This is also the time when all of these people come out of the woodwork claiming that they like spooky things, but spooky people are spooky all year round. Remember that.
That's right.
So, on the topic of curiosities and different things, I have been known to collect all kinds of weird, macabre, dark items. I know I don't put off that kind of a vibe in the least bit, but I do. I have all kinds of different items back here in the old coffin bookshelf. But I've brought forth this evening one of my favorite items in my collection that I keep inside of this box. So we'll go ahead and pop this open. Another thing that I really enjoy is going to antique stores. That's where I find a lot of weird, curious items. And one thing that I used to think when going in antique stores and seeing piles of old photographs of family members and people, and it's kind of sad because you think that these are people that when they were living, or if they are still alive, they had stories of their own to tell. They had, you know, their own lives. They had things, and now they're sitting in a dusty old box and people walk past them every day. One of my favorite kinds of portraits are actually called cabinet cards, and I have with me an assortment of cabinet cards here this evening. Now, in short, cabinet cards were a very popular form of photography during the Victorian era. Now, other than that, I'm not going to give you too much information about these portraits. I'm not going to tell you what their story is or where they came from quite yet. We'll get to that in a moment. But what I will tell you is that these are all portraits of women, and all of these women have one very dark thing in common with one another. But other than that, shh, that's all I'm going to say right now. Chris, you are going to help me out with this.
You got it, my friend.
And just to go ahead and get the disclaimer out of the way, even though we are friends, we did not prearrange this. We didn't set anything up. I didn't ask you to do anything special, correct?
That's correct.
As far as you know, you don't know what you're getting into right now.
I don't.
So, now, Chris, I know of you to be a very intuitive person for the most part. And what you're going to be doing is using an intuition to hone in on it. I'm going to be showing you these portraits one at a time. And if the lady gives you a negative feeling or a bad feeling, we're going to place them in a pile to my right. If you get a good feeling from them or a positive feeling, we're going to place them in the pile over here. So this is going to be the negative pile, and this is going to be the positive pile. Okay?
Oh.
And we want two more or less equal piles. They don't have to be exact, but as close as we can. Okay?
Okay. You got it.
Okay, you ready? So this first one right here, what do you get from her, positive or negative?
Positive.
positive. Okay, personally, I don't get that, but I'm not passing any judgment. This is all up to you.
Okay.
What about this one?
Positive. Positive.
Positive again. This one.
Oh, negative for sure.
Negative. This one.
I think negative too. Positive. Negative. Negative. Positive. Positive. Negative. Positive. Negative. Negative. Positive. Negative as well. And positive. Positive. Negative. Positive. And I would say positive.
Positive. You thought about it, though. You almost put it in the negative pile, didn't you?
Yes, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
I think there was a couple of times when you almost changed it, but you changed it at the last minute. Now,
yes,
with Victorian portraits, it's very hard. They all, quite honestly, look very negative. But
yeah,
on your own gut instinct, you separated these women into ones that gave you a negative feeling and ones that gave you a positive feeling. But I'm curious. Everybody's different. Everybody is going to separate them differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single out one photograph from each pile, and I'm just going to ask you what made you put that woman in that pile. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll start with the negative pile first. Let's see. We'll go for this woman here. What specifically about her gave you a negative feeling?
Well, just the overall dark look of the photo.
Okay, fair enough. Also, the facial expression and the posture is kind of, stiff. But okay.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the positive pile. We'll go with the Grady twins. What would have given you a positive feeling about them?
Well, they look like they're having a good time there.
Okay, and they're also dressed in all white, so maybe a sense of purity and usually when you see twin sisters, besides in The Shining, it's pretty happy. So, okay, very interesting. Now, I also appreciated that you took your time. It seemed like you were, not rushing through it, so I appreciate that. Now, I told you at the very beginning of this, I didn't want to give you too much information about these people because I didn't want that to influence you on how you would separate them. But I also said that all of these women had one very dark thing in common with one another, and that thing was actually a person, and that person was Jack the Ripper. Now, Chris, I'm sure you're familiar with Jack the Ripper, as sure as many other viewers are. But just to give you a brief overview of Jack the Ripper and a brief history, it's very interesting. But starting in the year 1888 in the Whitechapel district of London, over the course of the next 3 years, 11 residents of Whitechapel were brutally murdered. Most of those residents being women, and all of those women being prostitutes. At that time, Whitechapel was very much the slums of London. It wasn't a place that too many, higher-ups would frequent, which is why Jack the Ripper tended to frequent that area. He thought he was doing the world a kindness by killing off these soiled doves, so to speak. Now, even though there were many different people that claimed to be Jack the Ripper, there were lots of death that bared his hallmarks, there were only 5 victims that were ever specifically linked to being killed by the real Jack the Ripper. And I have their photographs as well. Now, I'm going to share those with you right now, but I will give you the disclaimer that if you are of the faint of heart or just don't like looking at macabre things, turn away now. These are the mortuary photographs of the 5 known Jack the Ripper victims.
Okay.
Now, the reason why these 5 women were specifically linked to being killed by him is because of how they were killed. All of them had their throats slit, and all of them suffered severe abdominal mutilation using surgical precision. And since these women did die at the hands of the Ripper, you can see on the backs of their cabinet cards, there is a blood splatter and a stamp from the London Metropolitan Police Department of Scotland Yard, who was the main department in charge of the investigation at that time. And that's where all of these photographs come from. Now, as for some of these other women, some of them were also considered victims of the Ripper. Some of them died during the same time period, but using dissimilar methods. And some of them lived, but were considered targets during the ongoing investigation. Now, Chris, I know that there's no possible way that you could have known any of this while you were sorting them out.
Right.
But because it is such a grotesque and quite a heavy topic, if somehow you were able to intuitively pick up on those positive and negative feelings. So we'll start off with the 2 that we singled out first, just to see how we did, okay? So the woman that you placed over here into the negative pile, you can see that she does, in fact, have a blood splatter stained on the back of her cabinet card, while the 2 sisters over here that you placed into the positive pile do not have anything stained on the back of their card. So we can stop right there. There's really no need to go any further.
Right.
But of course, we must, because your morbid curiosity has been piqued. If we take a look at all of the women that you placed over here into the negative pile, you can see that each and every one of them has a blood splatter stained on the back of their portrait.
That just gave me the chills, man.
And this is about to give you even more, because all of the women that you placed over here into the positive pile do not have one single blood splatter and never had the misfortune of running in to Jack the Ripper.
Oh boy, bravo. Bravo, Jordan. That right there seriously gave me some chills. Now, and that's what I love about your magic, is that you give a different take on these very classic forms of magic. I don't know if this is classic at all, but this is quite interesting, and it's visual. Now, Jordan, I know that a lot of people out there are watching. Could you explain what type of genre of magic do you consider yourself to be, or the type of magic that you do?
I know I like to call it bizarre magic, but I know a lot of the purists out there might argue that. But I have been getting into more of the bizarre aspect, storytelling,
Right.
because it definitely adds a lot more to the presentation and the effect. And you know, everyone is so interested in serial killers all of a sudden, and you know.
Right.
They're starting to get into, you know, darker things and weird stuff. So it connects with those people that are like that.
I definitely like your take on the storytelling aspect, because that's what this sort of magic was for me. You took me back in time, and you led me down a road which, you know, concluded with a very, very heavy feeling, like, of surprise and astonishment. And I love that about your magic. Jordan, now I know you got a show coming up. Could you tell people where we could check you out if they wanted to check you out again? What is your next show coming up later on in the month?
So I was very lucky to be a part of the Zoom Lagoon that's coming up on the 28th of this month. Their special Halloween show, so I'm very happy and excited to be a part of that. And other than that, that's about it right now. But I'm sure that I'll end up. I just had a public Zoom show last week. I'm sure I'll end up doing another one of those because it was a lot of fun.
So you do have some social media, and we'll go over that. You could be found on Facebook, right, Jordan Jonas?
Yes, Facebook and Instagram both.
Okay, and we have your Instagram, and we will check you out again on that Zoom Lagoon. That's a great show, and I hope everyone out there can tune in and watch you on Scott Bluegrind's Zoom Lagoon, and they could be found on Facebook too, I presume. And so
Yes,
I have to ask you,
as well.
now that we've concluded, we're about to conclude the show. I've always asked my performers to give a concluding thought, but you know what? Just a second here. I have to make a quick announcement before you do that. We have a couple of people watching tonight. Their name is Nick and Jessica, and you're familiar with them from BuddyCast.
Me and Nick. Oh man, I can't even tell you some of the things. we've become very acquainted through BuddyCast.
Yes. So he's watching tonight, Jordan. It's Dwarfism Awareness Month, and I wanted to dedicate this show to him. I know how much he loves you as far as your act. And so
he doesn't want to admit it, but he loves me.
Jordan, we're about to conclude the show. I really appreciate you being on the show today to be our featured guest. I love your magic. Thank you for coming. Is there anything you want to say to the audience or anyone out there before we close it off?
Well, I always like concluding my shows by saying, to everyone watching, first of all, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. And tonight, when you go to draw the curtains and you go to lay your head down on the pillow and the memories of this evening's show are rattling about in your brain, I just want you to keep repeating to yourself, it's only a magic show. It's only a magic show.
Well said, Jordan. Well said. Once again, thank you for coming on the show, Jordan. Thank you for
having me, Chris.
My name is Chris Herren as Faust. This is Jordan Jonas, and good night to everyone out there, and we'll see you again on the next show.